All right, guys, we're live. Welcome, everyone. I realize this is a little bit of a different setup if you've joined us for any previous webinars, but I'm really excited. We have this amazing report that we're going to be talking about today. We wanted to do this report justice, and so we've got some guests with us today as well. Before we dive in, I would just love for you to drop in the chat where you're from. We love to see it. I've got it pulled up here. We just like to see where people are from, where you're joining us from. And we're going to get into a little bit of housekeeping before we dive in. So first up, if you have not downloaded the Peak Performance Report, do that now. There is a QR code on screen. And there is also at the very bottom, you'll see there's the chat, the polls, and links. There's a link to that as well. Go do that now. You can follow along. Yes, there's so much in here. Like, I'm just going to flip through it for you because it's amazing. I'm going to put this aside. The next thing we have is, if you are not familiar, we have our crew event coming up in April. You should register. You should come join us. It's a really good time. It's here at our HQ in Lehi, Utah. We will have more webinars. We wanted to share some with you today, but we're kind of planning it out, and we have some questions in the polls. You can answer them. We're trying to create a bit of a content strategy for you so we can better serve your needs and provide good resources. What else have we got here? Okay, we're going to do some introductions. My name is Sancha. I am the Customer Marketing Manager here at JobNimbus. It is an absolute pleasure. My first job out of high school was actually at a roofing company, and then in a kind of full circle moment, had a career in marketing and ended up here. So it's really special, and I care a lot about what JobNimbus is doing and a lot about what you are doing. So this is really fun, but I'm going to pass it over and have our guests here introduce themselves because they are the ones we want to hear from today. Go for it, Ben.
Okay. I'm Ben Hodson. I'm the founder, CEO of JobNimbus, and super excited to be here.
Hey, I'm John Dye. I'm with American Contractor Show and XBuild, but a fifth-generation contractor, and I'm kind of just here to talk about peak performance and give you guys a little color today. So
thanks, sir.
We all decided to wear black today.
Apparently not me.
I'm Kaili Smith. I'm the VP of Marketing here at JobNimbus.
We have got a lot of people in here. This is really, really fun. Have any of you been to a crew event? If you have, I would love for you to raise your hand and say hi. This is awesome. We have people from all over. I'm from Canada, so some of these are new places for me. I'm learning American geography. Okay, so we're going to get into it. I'm going to go through a little agenda, some outcomes for you, and then we're going to do a bit of a check-in before we dive into some of the key insights. So to start, we are going to be talking about this report. There's so much in it. We kind of distilled it down to some main key insights we wanted to share with you with some really practical takeaways. And then we are going to go over some of the high-level trends that we see from the report and for the industry in 2025 and beyond. I'm really excited for some commentary on that from everyone here today. And then we're going to get into like the live Q&A piece. So this is where you come in. If you have questions, please don't leave them in the chat. Put them in the question tab. We have moderators. They're going to be in there, and we're going to be pulling questions from there. We just don't want to lose them if they're in the chat. In terms of outcomes, we always want to make sure that you coming and spending time with us is worth it. We care a lot about what you're doing, and we value how busy you are and the work that you're doing. So we want you to leave with just an understanding of what these industry trends are. I'm really excited to have John here today because he can kind of bridge that gap between tech and contractor. And then we're going to identify some things that perhaps you could do differently in 2025, or maybe that you're doing really, really well already, and just have a general understanding of where you stand. And so that is it from me for now. We are going to do a really quick check-in. If you are familiar with the report, I would love to know what category you are most interested in learning about. We also have this question in the polls. A lot of what we do here, we do because we hear it from you and we learn from you, and it helps us know how to curate content, how to create this report again in the coming years. So please let us know. Drop that in the chat. Yes, Brad is in there, our moderator. And just make sure, hop into the chat and the polls and let's get into this. Okay. First up, 3 key insights. We're going to dig into this together. Kaili, actually, I'm going to pull on you to start for this one. We're going to talk about lead generation and marketing strategies.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to give us a little bit of insight, kind of some of the key points and what we can take away from this.
Yeah, 100%. So if you haven't downloaded the report, please do. The marketing section's really, really well done and broke into a lot of different tables. So it might be a little overwhelming when you see all of it, but it all has really good content. And we split it in a couple different ways. So we had kind of the general statistics, and then we also split it by the high volume roofing companies, so 200 or more roofing companies, and then the high revenue companies as well. So you can see not just the industry standard in all of the sections, not just marketing, but also what the high revenue and high performing companies are doing to help you get an idea of where you stand in your business if you are include those top categories, or where you can really focus on to cover the gap. So with that understanding, the top 2 lead sources for everyone on the standards were customer referrals was number 1 and networking was number 2. I wasn't too surprised about this. We have a very strong word of mouth industry, as you guys know. But to keep in mind, I want to go into customer referrals a little bit more, but keep in mind that as you are expanding and trying to be high revenue generating, you have to have a little bit of everything, which is really important. You have to really be able, and we see this on the JobNimbus side, and I'm sure John sees this on his side as well. But on the JobNimbus side, you have to have a lot of levers you can pull. So if there is a source that is like not performing as well as it usually does, you can make up the difference in other ways, and be able to have those tools and resources to do that are really critical. So if you have a couple lead sources, but you want to expand to others, go look at what the top performers are. And just a shameless plug on this, we have JobNimbus marketing services, which are great. So specifically with like your paid ads or your SEO, if that's something you want to explore, that's absolutely something we're happy to help you with. Now, on the customer referral side, we had at JNSS this year, we had a really fun poolside session. We got into customer referrals. We had multiple contractors sharing their referral programs that were working really well, which is really cool. One of them that stood out in particular, because they had a huge uptick when we talked out at the poolside session, we had a huge uptick. They had a huge uptick in customer referrals coming in when they created a program, because before it was like a $500 gift card if you referred someone. But what they did was they got a $500. Yes, the referrer got $500 gift card, and the referee also got a $500 gift card. And when they switched it to that, it like tripled their customer referral leads, because they didn't just want a gift card for themselves. They liked the idea of getting something for the person that they recommended. So it really just helped drove the traffic a lot more, and drove the leads coming in, which I thought was really cool. So if you don't have a referral program or some kind of way to incentivize your customers to refer, that's a really easy way to uptick the leads that are going to come in for you guys this year, which I thought was really cool.
And this is also a shameless plug for JNSS, which we will have more information about in the near future. We were just in Cabo, and we got to hang out with our customers and our contractors, and it's a really life-giving time for us, and it's a really fun time. So stay tuned for that. Anything else you guys want to add on that, on the lead gen and marketing strategy standpoint?
Go ahead.
I mean, lead gen and marketing is kind of my world. And, at the end of the day, your lead gen is everything. Like, if you don't have lead gen, what are you actually doing? And if you're waiting for things to occur, we talked about this earlier, like, you're going to just wait around until something happens. And you can't run a business that way. It's just not the way this stuff works. And any top performing company, they have a very strategic strategy to this. And that's what you have to develop for your company. You have to have a way to actually continuously keep having impact in your community so that you can continue to grow your business. Otherwise, if you're constantly waiting on external factors, I mean, look at Denver. 4 years, they didn't have storms, and like so many businesses went out of business because they just didn't have any work, and they were just so reliant on external factors controlling their business that they had to learn how to develop it. And now you've got really strong companies in Denver that have learned the retail side of things and the insurance side of things. And the biggest thing for retail is understanding your lead gen, marketing, and being able to track all these things. There's such a science behind it. And I'm still learning a lot of that too, as we grow other businesses. But even as a contractor, the science is all the same, like number of leads, conversion rates, understanding how those leads convert, when they convert, what causes them to convert, there's all kinds of things that you can be tracking within your business that if you're not, you need to start doing that right away.
John, you mentioned like impact in the community.
Mhm.
What are some ways that I totally agree with you. You need to constantly impact your community. What are some ways that you
contractors are local? Like you have to live within your local community. So like for us, we did a lot of like, and Facebook is probably like the most overused place. Like if anyone asks in a Facebook group if they want a roofer, they're gonna have like 50 different roofers show up like instantly, right? So that's the quick and easy way to do it, and it's probably the least effective way to set yourself apart. But you got to find other ways to impact your community. There's I live in Indy, so like in Indianapolis, Indy Roof Company does a lot of stuff. They do a lot of local TV stuff, so that's pretty cool. They do a lot of stuff with like the Pacers and like the sports teams, the Colts. They also they're constantly like finding ways to give back to the community. So through different organizations they'll partner with, and they'll give away a roof to a family in need. They'll find ways to set themselves apart within the community. And that's what's growing their specifically their retail division, because they're historically a storm company, and now they're pivoting hard into retail. And how do you do that? You grow your impact. And so find ways to get involved in the community from not just let me just tell you I'm a roofer, because that's the weirdest thing. I think Joe Hughes has that video where he's going around and like with the megaphone and saying, "Hey, I'm a roofer. Do you want a free roof?" And that's literally what you're doing if that's your strategy.
We had this on a previous webinar where we were talking about just like connecting in your community, and someone had said that they do like I think it's just like they support a shelter and they collect donations, and by doing that in their community, everyone knows now to do that, and they've gotten jobs from it because
100%.
people believe in their integrity, in their values, which I think comes back to our mission at JobNimbus, making contractors heroes. If that can extend beyond the contractors into the world, like that's a huge win. So
sponsoring teams, baseball teams, little league teams, that's a big one. You can, we used to do like night at the movies, like movies in the park is what we did. So like we would sponsor that. We'd always, show up and bring out food and waters and all that good stuff. So like just finding different ways. Farmers markets, that's another good one. Like just getting your name out there, being a part of the community, that's what builds the trust. And that's what builds the connection to where when people do need something, they know they're going to reach out to you. And then
brand recognition.
Brand recognition is so important. People don't realize how important that is because it's so hard to track it, but it exists 100%. And this is a marketing discussion about brand versus, but yeah, we'll get into that later. But no, at the end of the day, like being known in the community as the guy, and it's not just wrap trucks. It's like doing things that actually impact the community. Those things are worth a lot.
If anyone in the chat right now has examples of things that you are doing in your community for like this, drop them, because I think so much of this is we learn from each other, and like these are some great examples. But if you have any, we would love to hear them. We love to hear these stories. Ben, was there anything you wanted to add?
I like to think about things in terms of principles, and especially when you're thinking about the strategy of things. And so you say like, okay, well, my marketing strategy, and that seems like a big word, and arguably a lot of people don't really know a lot about marketing. It's kind of a black box for most of our customers, and they just try a lot of things and hope it works. But if you go back to the basics of the strategy, you have to first confront, I think, hard truths and facts. One of the hard truths to confront in a roofing company especially is that if you're very much storm driven, as John said, then you're just controlled by external forces. And it sucks when it's bad, and it's amazing when it's good. And it's very hard to be consistent over time. And if you're retail, then you are very much, your fact is that let's say you did $10 million in top line revenue last year. You start day one of January at zero again. And if you want to do 11 million or 15 million the next year, you actually have to figure out a way to just get your 10 back before you can get above that. And that's a different business model than many other companies. It's really, really hard to do. Well, what does that do? It puts even more pressure on your marketing strategy. Because if you don't have a good marketing strategy, you're actually just being controlled by outside forces. So what is that strategy? And some of the basics of it are understanding your conversion rates enough to know to say, okay, I have to do this many roofs to get to that $10 million number, which then if I break that down by month, that means I need, 150 leads a month. And oh my gosh, there's a kind of like, oh, marketing's real expensive, but you actually look at the best companies in roofing, which we have many of those as customers, and they're very, very thoughtful about how they spend the money, and they know they've got to spend the money in order to get the leads. And so they say, if I just want to maintain 10 million the next year, I need to expect to pay at least $500,000 in marketing the next year to get there, 5%.
Yeah.
If I actually want to grow beyond that, I'm actually going to have to pay more like 7 to 10%. So wait, I got to pay $1 million to get to say 12 to 15 million dollars. Yeah. Typically, that's what you're going to have to do. So if you go in with that and you budget for that, then you're actually set up for success, because if you already know your conversion rate, you almost know you hit the year already just by doing the simple math. So I mention all that because this whole report, the idea behind it is to give you best practices, ideas to say, like, how do I fundamentally grow to the next level or get to the next stage as the company? That's the whole mission of JobNimbus, is to make you a hero.
They're levers.
Yes, exactly.
That's the thing. Like, people don't realize, like, they're levers. Like, if you want to get to a certain thing, like, you should be able to track and see the metrics behind what levers to pull at what times that'll create those results that you want. And there's so many to go into, but you're right. It's all budgeting and understanding, like, where to put that money at the right time.
I love this. We had a couple things in here. We said we work with our suppliers to donate roofs to people or foundations in need.
Oh, that's cool.
After Hurricane Milton, we bought 100 sheets of plywood and offered the community members to come take 5 per household. We also provided free tarps and tarping. Like, those things that's really powerful and really incredible. Thank you for sharing these. I'm going to keep us rolling because I really want to make sure we get through everything. And I know people have questions. If you do have more, I see them coming in here in the question box. So drop them in there so we don't lose this. And also, if we won't run out of time, we'll keep it tight. But if you want more from these folks, say the word. I can maybe try and swing them. Okay, so we're going to dig into the importance of reviews and reputation, which is a continuation of what we've been talking about here. John, do you want to chat a little bit about this? Some of the insights, takeaways?
So if you don't have the report, please get it, because it is everything. Like, this is amazing, you guys, just so everyone knows. In the report itself, though, it talks about 90% of homeowners consider reviews to be important when selecting a roofer. So this is how important reviews really are. Like, if you don't think people are going to go check your reviews, you're delusional, because the reality is, in today's day and age, like, if I'm going to go to a restaurant or go anywhere, I'm looking at the reviews. I'm not going to order food from a 4.2 star restaurant when there's a 4.7 star available. Okay. I know that's I'm bougie, but okay. So within the report, though, it says high rated roofing companies have at least 100 reviews. That might sound like a lot, but it's really not, but it's just learning how to ask for those, right? Highly rated roofers also focus on communication and quality to secure more referrals. This is where JobNimbus really shines. The automations within JobNimbus make this so freaking easy. I know when I was selling roofs last summer, I used JobNimbus. My entire sales workflow was all automated in English and Spanish, because I was working in a heavily Spanish community in Colorado. And so, I was, from the very beginning to the very end to the very final review, I was asking for that review every single time, because it was an automation. I didn't have to do anything. And the amount of times that reviews were left because of that was amazing. So reviews are not just a validation tool. It's a critical driver of new business. To competition, or the correlation between review with high review counts and high ratings offers a clear benchmark for success. This is all within the report, by the way. And I love that it always gives you an actionable takeaway. So it's not just going to tell you what the data is, but here's how you can actually use that data for your business. For this one specifically, it says share strategies for building a strong review base, such as implementing follow-up systems, asking for reviews at the job's conclusion, and rewarding customers for referrals. There's so many pieces here, and there's so many ways to do it so easily nowadays. There's systems that will reward your customers. That's a big one. I know it kind of sounds like you're bribing people, but you're not really bribing them. You're giving them something for helping you out, and it's okay. But at the end of the day, finding ways to ask for them. But I think ultimately the most important thing is just ask for the review. So many people just don't. It's like an old sales thing that people don't even ask for the sale. Well, a lot of people don't even bother to ask for a review. If you have a customer that, even if it was not the best experience ever, you can still ask for a review. And there's ways you can filter those too, where you can ask for a review. And then if the review isn't the best, it doesn't necessarily go up on your thing. Like there's ways to filter reviews like before they get there. But build a referral system, use it, ask for those reviews every single time, automate it, and the results will come. I see roofing companies with 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 reviews, and that's like a big focus in their world. Mm-hmm. They're also going to reward their sales reps that are asking for reviews. That's a big thing that they do. They make it part of their SOPs. Like you have to ask for the review every single time. If you do, there's a bonus for you if you get a good review. We had it as a metric in our system. It was part of our KPIs. We not only did they have to sell the roof, but if they wanted to get their full commission, there were all their bonuses that can be applied so you can max out your commission. Is one of those KPIs was a 5-star review. If you got the review, you got a picture with the homeowner, holding the sign or whatever. All those things are so important. If you get a video with a homeowner, yeah, you were like our number one sales rep. Like we wanted you every single time because videos are important.
Is there anything else you guys might want to add to that?
I think there were a couple things. So like getting the 5-star review, when we went and looked at the common reasons people gave 5-star reviews to contractors was responsiveness, reliability, and professional. So, and that's why I like the automations that people have set up, because it kind of hits on all three of those where you're responsive.
It's a work back to
exactly
a well-oiled machine of sales experience, production experience that then tees up the review.
Yeah, and you can get really creative with automations, because I was having a conversation with a customer and I was really excited because he was telling me about, like, we have a high touch communication system with our customers set up, and we have a low touch. So first thing when they close the deal is like, do you want just the milestones or do you want updates every single step of the way? They're able to tailor it to what the customer wanted. So the people who just worried about the milestones didn't get spammed in their mind, and the ones who wanted an update on everything were super happy, and calls dropped to the office because they were able to tailor their communications to their homeowner really well, and it was all automatic, so it made everyone's life easier. Mm-hmm. So to see people do that really well and make the responsiveness and just automate it, so you don't have to hire like 2 more people to handle a really high touch system, just automate it. It's just really cool to see. It's cool to see how those come into play and create really good homeowner experiences.
And it's that like cycle of this empowers the lead gen, and we're just in it.
Well, the scalability is awesome. I have like 50, 60, 70 customers in my pipeline, and the amount of work I did was like an hour a day responding to a few texts that came in. Responses.
This is perfect tee up.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Speaking of scalability, I want to move this along because we want to get to the live Q&A. Profitability and scaling with strategic tools. Talking a little bit about that, some of the insights from the report, and what anyone attending can take away from it. Ben.
Many customers that we found that the best companies were using software systems for a large portion of their business. And there's kind of an interesting stat that you may not know. About 65 of our customers that sign up for JobNimbus on a weekly basis are coming from pen and paper or Excel. So still a majority of customers are not technology adopted anyway. They're not switching from a competitive system, actually a majority of the time. They're coming. So at least people know they're supposed to be using this. The demographics are on our side. I remember, when we were first starting the company, we would talk to a lot of boomers who were retiring, and they're like, I don't want to mess with that stuff. And it was actually hard to sell them, but then their kids were like taking over the business. Like, we have to get a technology solution. We've seen that become more and more the norm. I can't think of any top quality, best of class roofer that's not utilizing technology across their entire business, and very, very smartly. So it's a must now. It's not like a nice to have, it's a must. And I'm actually a little bit worried because there are customers that we have right now that are not utilizing a lot of JobNimbus, or there's people I see out in the market that haven't decided to use JobNimbus yet, that aren't using anything. Well, we're fine. We're getting by okay on this and this and this paper thing. And I'm very worried for them because I don't know that they realized how competitive things are getting. Like, there are awesome, well-oiled machine companies coming after you, and many are rolled up with private equity where they're like MBAs figuring out how to optimize every part and using software across the systems. And that's like a real danger point for customers if they don't accept the reality of that and get on board with it quickly. Mm-hmm. So then the question becomes like, how do I adopt the software I have? How do I get using it more? What parts of my process are still manual? What can I automate? That's really the questions that should be asked.
The automations piece, we hosted a webinar, a few of them last year, just on best business practices kind of at every stage, from your lead gen, your just even a simple branding exercise all the way through production and on. And we had listed just a very simple automation, like what would be possible if you were to, in your production stage. And we had so many people just raise their hand and say, we want to be able to do this. This is the limitation. Like, this is where we're stuck. If we could just do this, this would free up this piece, which is really cool. So actually, if any of you watching are in a situation where you are a JobNimbus customer and you're like, I want to learn more about automations, raise your hand. We'll hook you up. We'll make sure you get taken care of. Anything else you guys want to add on that in terms of profitability and scaling?
Like, this is the most important thing, I think, in the industry right now. We talked about this in our interview when we talked a few months ago.
Yep.
But I love how technology is leveling the playing field right now for contractors. And speaking from an actual like contractor, like my dad's a GC, like he builds everything, and my grandpa was a bricklayer, and blacksmith was my great grandfather. So like, it goes up the line. But I love the trades. And I feel like in the last 10, 15 years, the trades have evolved, and there's been a big push with a lot of business people coming into the trades that aren't really tradespeople. And
yes,
that's cool. Like, it's helped elevate our industry tremendously. But I love that technology levels the playing field, because you now have access to things that like my grandpa would never have had, like to run a business and to scale a business as the actual tradesperson. Back then, like my grandpa would get a job and he'd go put up the brick and go to the next job, put up the brick, and go to the next job, put up the brick. Because he didn't know how to scale a business. He didn't know how to operate. He didn't know how to do all the things that now exist at the tip of your fingertips. Like, you press some buttons and now the system will run your business for you. So if you can harness this power as a tradesperson right now and start to utilize all these tools, and you guys are developing some amazing pieces that can just operate your business really for you and give you that time back so that you can really focus on quality, on, you know, taking care of customers, doing the things that are really important to operating a good trade, like being a good tradesperson. The power's back in your hands. And that to me is what's so cool about all this, is now we're shifting this thing to where like now businesses can be run almost on autopilot in a lot of ways. And it's going to become more and more prevalent as the time goes on, as technology keeps advancing, and it's advancing so fast that you can focus on the things that really matter. And keeping customers happy and making sure that jobs are done right, and that, you know, all the things that as a tradesperson I really, really look at. Like, I want good work. This allows good work.
Yep.
You guys are killing it. So good job.
I think one of the interesting stats, we have a customer that went from zero. They started the company, they got on JobNimbus day one, and they automated everything with it. Just one guy. He hired a second guy by the end of this first year. Within 2 years, they were at 7 million in revenue with 2 people. And they didn't even feel like they were working that much. I mean, they weren't like working 90 hours a week or something. They were working probably 40 or 50 hours each a week. And and the company's incredibly profitable, because incredibly. So it shows the power. You can go nuts with this and actually make yourself highly, highly efficient and make tons of money. Or you can go the old way, which is just have a ton of people and try and putting out fires all day. And we recommend the first way. That's what our vision is.
Oh, it's awesome.
This is amazing, and I'm going to keep us moving along. We are going to dive into some of the notable industry trends from this report. This is going to be like really rapid fire. I'm just going to list off the trend, the stat, and if you have any commentary on it, just like hot seat, you guys. Okay. And then I see lots of questions in here, so I want to get to those as well. And if I need to skip through some of these, I will, because there are excellent questions in here. You guys are awesome. All right. First up, we've got 69% of roofing companies have only one location. Like 15% have 2, 7 have 3, 9% have 4. Is that something you see staying that way? What do you think?
The secret to business is to be the best in the world at something that nobody else can easily duplicate.
Yes.
So I would say that you should look at it as that. If I am in one location, but I own that market, I'm the best in the world at that, then maybe if you're saying I can't expand any further, that like that's the most we can make within this market, and you want to keep growing the business, you would consider going to the second one. But you wouldn't consider that unless you were truly the best, because it's a nail it, then scale it approach that you want to take with things.
Quote that one. If you have a notebook, write that one down.
So if you haven't nailed it, do not set up multiple locations. It'll just be more problems.
I don't think people know market share either.
Yeah.
Like,
Talk about that.
market share is what I think drives locations. And people don't realize, like, they don't calculate, like, well, how much of your own market share have you actually gotten before you go out and start? And I don't know what the equation is for that, like when is the right time, but a lot of people start really too quick to go out and expand to other locations. And usually the reason why contractors expand is usually because they hire someone within a different geographical zone. And so then they're like, okay, we're going to build a business around this person, which is super dangerous to do. But they do it anyways. And then that's how they open up their second location. But they still haven't even captured enough market share within their first location to justify the second location. So I always like tell contractors, if they come in like, hey, I want to open more spots, how much market share do you actually own in your own space? If you're doing 2 million in a $200 million market, that means you have 1% market share. Now, if you're running 20 million in a $200 million market, okay, maybe you're 10%. Maybe that's a good moment to move. But at that point, you should have good systems, good processes. You nailed it, like you said, and that's a lot easier to duplicate.
Okay. Next up.
Sorry.
No.
That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
So,
I'm passionate about
okay,
this stuff.
here's a very random question. We have I don't think we've had a podcast. Have we ever had a podcast? We've been debating. If this is something that you're like, ooh, we would listen to content this way, let us know, because maybe John, first guest, perhaps.
Hey, John has a podcast.
John does have
John
a
has a
podcast.
podcast.
John has a
So
podcast.
I
we're
want to
gonna-
mention that. American Contractor Show.
Yes.
Yep.
ACS.
That's awesome.
And if you haven't heard of it, where have you been?
It's on the internet.
It's on the internet. Only 12% of roofing companies complete over 500 roofs a year. Yeah. What do you see? Do you see that being standard? What do you think on that?
I think it's subjective.
Yeah.
I mean, some people don't want to do more than that. And that's
Yes.
okay. Like,
Yeah.
you got to figure out what you're comfortable with and what you want to achieve. Setting goals like that over amount of roofs to do per year is kind of, you might, 500, and there's a difference, 500 profitable roofs, or are you just wanting 500 roofs?
I was going to actually mention this on our last webinar too. We had a conversation about this, and one of the primary focuses that we asked people what they want to focus on in 2025, it feels like it's shifted away from selling jobs, like a certain amount of jobs, and is like, I want profitable jobs, and which is great. We're going to fly through these. 36% of roofing businesses don't use video marketing at all.
Lord.
Kaylee.
It drives me nuts. We're a really big testing culture, and even before I came to JobNimbus, I've been huge on testing in every freaking industry I've ever been in, and every freelance client I've ever had. Motion sells, like video sells.
Yes.
It's our highest engaging content piece. That's the funny thing to me, because it doesn't have to be this huge production value to get a lot of engagement. It's the whole point of video, especially when you're doing it, marketing your business with it, is to show the person behind the company. Like, people are used to seeing your company, but when they see you on the camera, you don't even have to be eloquent. In fact, sometimes it helps you when you're not, because people actually gain trust in people who appear authentic. And if you feel like you're just stumbling over your words, or you had a messy video, or it's low quality from your phone, that can actually help you.
It's relatable.
Yeah. I think one of our top ads that we've had, particularly with Sumo Quote, is you in your car.
I'm so sorry to any of you if you're on Facebook and you've seen my face on that ad. I do know where a roof is, despite the comments.
And not to say video production doesn't play a role. We hit a point where you're testing different kinds of ads and different content different ways. Like with YouTube, sometimes a higher quality ad does convert better, but you have to test into that. But just start. This is such a great way to humanize your brand and to help people connect with you and your company as people, not just, oh, it's a company. It's, oh, that's John, that's Mike, that's Matt. Like, video is such an easy way to humanize what you do and bring to your community. And it's not as easy to do that in other marketing formats, but video, it's really easy to do.
Are we in a safe space?
We are in a safe space.
Are we? You guys want a deep, dark secret about video ads?
I'm ready.
So last summer when I was in Colorado, I had some contractual obligations I had to complete. I was not in my studio. My team actually used AI to generate ads for us.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ads with my face, and the challenge is go through my videos on ACS, figure out which ones are AI and which ones are real.
Mm-hmm.
But there are literally ads out there, or not ads, but videos, and there's some ads too. XBuild has some ads that they're running right now that are totally AI. But I'm talking, I'm saying things, I'm making gestures, and I never said any of those things.
So you've heard it here.
Right?
Deep
dark secret.
Deep dark secret. And
It's a real thing.
we're gonna actually skip over this next slide because I really want to get to this next one just about checks.
It's fun, right?
And I'll do a couple more of these and then we'll get into the questions. 95% of roofing companies accept paper checks, but only 73% accept digital payments. And we're going to kind of tie this in here with one from later on where 55% of homeowners want to pay for their roofing project by credit card. Let's talk about that.
I want to actually make a comment about this because I don't think it's a clear cut, oh, for sure you shouldn't collect checks.
Yep.
What I've found when I talk to customers is that when you meet 90-year-old grandma that you do her roof, she doesn't know how to do digital payment, doesn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably already a place for that. The thing I get worried about is when that's the norm.
Yes.
When they say, oh, no, we collect 85% because we save money that way. And it's bizarre because I do the math on like driving around and paying the person. And a lot of times the owner's actually the one driving
And
around.
even the administrative load.
Yes.
Back and forth.
And then the second thing is, well, I get paid faster because I can deposit it and it's in my account the next day. And in both cases, like for instance, JobNimbus Payments solves for those. You get 24-hour funding on ACH or credit card. And you don't have to drive around at all. And if you look at the percentage that you pay, because JobNimbus doesn't charge you for JobNimbus payments, it's just you pay the interchange rates and whatever our fees and everything are. You actually save money and scale. But here's the problem. When you're small, you value money over time. And as you get bigger, you value time over money. And so you look at your peers who are crushing it in roofing, and you wonder, why are they doing so well? Because they started valuing their time more than their money, and that's what allowed them to scale. So it's a little bit of a mind shift, and I get that it's hard to do. And I also think that there's a place for paper checks with grandma, too.
Yes, just like selling at a kitchen table. It's not always.
This is a pet peeve, though. This whole thing, this discussion needs to be had, and this is a debate in the industry, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this drives me nuts as a consumer. But if someone tries to charge me 3% to use my credit card and I can't swipe my Amex, I'm annoyed. At my roofing company we started a few years ago that I sold, we actually assumed that every person was going to pay with a credit card.
Yeah,
we baked in the 3% fee. We 100% did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, could we give someone cash discount? If we had to, we could. We didn't. We rarely did. Our price was our price. We built it all in Sumo Quote. We had the 3% baked in. We assumed that every customer was going to use a credit card. And then guess what? When my competitors came in and said, you're going to spend $12,000 on this roof, but you got to pay a 3% fee to use your credit card. And I come in and say, no, here's what it costs to buy the roof and pay however you want. We accept whatever form of payment. Just click the button and pay us. Just because of that, we looked more put together like we were a real business.
Can you imagine you go to Walmart like, okay, we're adding on a percentage for Amex?
Yeah.
Or this is bizarre.
So I want to read this. I love this. JobNimbus Payments dramatically reduced our receivables and turnaround time from an average of 12 days to 2 days. Mm-hmm. It was the most simple thing we did that moved the needle in favor of our cash flow. Faster you can collect, the better. We love to hear it. That cool. Is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Hey, can we use that in our marketing?
Yeah, can we talk to you, please?
Yes, you can use it.
Okay, we're
I'll send you swag.
We're going to skip on through because I want to get to the Q&A because we have a lot of questions in here. And I feel like the discussion, we could just talk forever about all of these things. Okay, so Brad is in here a little bit. Okay, the first question I want to ask, well, before we get to this, just a quick checkout for you guys. If from all of this that you've heard today, and you can answer even as we get into the Q&A, what is something that you recognize in your business that you could focus on more this year? Like from everything they've said about lead gen, about scaling, referrals, maybe even just like what's one practical thing that you can take into the rest of the year? We'd love to hear it in the chat. First question though, is there anything that surprised you from the report when you were reading it? And we're gonna go pretty quick through these because you've got some great questions here.
So there's a future outlook section. And I don't know if it surprised me, but it was really reaffirming, was what people were writing down what they wanted to accomplish. Because it wasn't just what they were doing for their community, like a free roof or to sponsor something, things like that. But also, I want to provide insurance for my team. I want to be able to take them on a trip. Like to just watch to be able to see the variety, but also the same core value of like, I want to take care of not just my customers, but also my team. Was really reaffirming of just how exceptional our industry is. Like to see that the owners that took the time to fill out this survey and their future goals was about setting up their team for more success or treating them or taking care of them. It's really cool to see. And it was just really nice. Like I left the industry and came back because I loved it so much. So to see that, like, yes, these are really solid things that people are trying to do to amplify not just their business, but also their people they work with. Was really awesome. It was really cool to have that element this year.
So my peak performance report's at home, and it's the only thing on my desk that I have like marked up. Like I'm not a big like note taker, so like I don't like put like stuff on. But on my peak performance report, I actually, and it's because I'm making content off of this stuff a lot of times. But at the same time, I had a lot of things not like marked up that were like, this is huge, this is huge, this is huge. And if you go through this, you're gonna find like nuggets that just apply directly to your business that are going to surprise you. And so like we can just go through anything. This is the mini version here, but like this one right here, how long does it take to go from a lead to a final invoice? This is a massive, like sales cycles are everything to me. If you can move a job faster, you get paid faster, you can do more work, you can scale faster. There's a million different ways. Money loves speed. Oh, my Code quote. But according to this, like most companies are 2 to 3 months sometimes, to get a job completely done. That's insanity. It's a job that takes a day to do. And it takes 2 to 3 months to get a job from lead to closed. Like, how do you, like, if you look at a number like that, where does your mind go? Like, for me, it goes into like, okay, let's build a process. Let's figure out how to do it. Let's shrink that number down as quickly as possible. What steps are taking too long? What is, like, that's what this report does. And so there's always something surprising in here, I think, that catches my attention when I look at it. I'm like blown away. I'm like, there's no way that should take that long.
Yeah. I wasn't really surprised by anything. I think I would have been really concerned if something was surprising, because then I would say, oh man, I don't actually understand the industry very well. Yes. So not that I know everything, but we have a pretty good feel on what the challenges are for customers. We're super obsessed over it. It's one of our values is customer obsessed. So I found a lot of it to be interesting. I might have been surprised by a few of the percentages, like, oh, that's a little lower than I expected here or there. But generally, the trajectory was right on with where I think the industry's problems are. Okay. So I would say it's a different mindset, though, because I'm a leader of a software company trying to solve customer problems. The average roofer is going to read this and probably be surprised by several things, because we know many roofers are not doing some of these best practices.
Yes. Okay, here's one. Can JobNimbus marketing services help us with marketing attribution? We are looking for phone tracking solutions that auto-populate in the lead source that give specific info as to where people found us, instead of the customer saying, I Googled you.
That's freaking real. That's a super real thing. So that's absolutely something you should bring up. And I would highly recommend getting on a strategy session with our team, and they can kind of walk you through that. And
maybe our moderators can pop a discovery call link in the chat.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Attribution's interesting. And when it's phone calls, it's really nice. So I'd make sure to bring this up. We had to do this when we had a call extension on our Google ads. They can help you find the resource to find like a separate number. So we were able to track on the JobNimbus side, and I'll follow up with J&M and make sure that they have a way to do this. But having a separate number for each of your sources. So your Google business profile should have your number. And then there are tools that are cheap or free to use where you can kind of basically do the number routes to your main number, but because it's a custom one on your Google ads or on your website or on your blog posts, that should start giving you some attribution on the phone calls, because lots of phone calls are what come in. But I can follow up on that.
Yep.
So if you look at the most common lead sources, referrals and that sort of thing, that's coming in as calls. And when you talk to customers over and over, they said the most common way that they're dispositioning leads is through a call. So that means there's a human that's having a conversation and determining the lead source from that. So I would say a really simple way to do this is to go into your JobNimbus admin settings, go to lead sources, and just spend an hour with anybody that takes calls and brainstorm out the 50, 70, whatever lead sources. I bet you got 20. And put those down into the drop-down list. Then now you're capturing 85% of it because you can just ask, how'd you hear about us on those ones? Then the second stage is whenever it's something not on the list, put a quick little note in and then make sure somebody's designated on the team to go in and update that in the admin. And over a month or two, you'll have all your lead sources. You'll be capturing 98, 99%, and you'll be able to run reports and attribution reports. That's even without using JobNimbus marketing or anything. You can just do that in the system, and it actually works really well and simple.
You heard it here. Okay, here's an interesting one. How are you planning to optimize the new sales experience to accommodate insurance claims? In Dallas-Fort Worth, insurance work is a large part of re-roofs. As of right now, it seems more tailored for retail work. Excited to hear your feedback.
So a few things. We are having, about half our customers are primarily insurance focused restoration companies. Many are having great success with the new sales experience right now. Some say, oh, I need this or that. There's common things like, I just do it by per square, or I just take the Xactimate and plug that in. In both of those cases, we have a feature on the roadmap that'll allow you to do that inside of the new sales experience coming soon. So we're addressing that. Many others actually still do their own estimate because they want to have some kind of strong negotiation point with the insurance company. And then they spend time supplementing, which they do is usually a change order, and they'll add like an addendum to the estimate, or they'll add a work order to keep track of it. Those guys are usually driving higher dollars per deal that they're doing, but they're also spending more time on it. So I get that people, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to do supplementing. I just want to do the Xactimate. That's fine. That feature's coming. You can just make a single line inside of your new sales experience right now and put that in, and it works great. Like I said, we're coming up with a per square price that you can do if you want to do something really simple.
And I said I used to work for a roofing company. The company that I worked for did largely insurance. That was the company where Sumo Quote was kind of built out of.
Yeah.
And now is a part of JobNimbus. So it was built with insurance in mind.
Correct.
So we have debated doing a selling insurance and using the new sales experience workshop webinar. That's something you'd attend, raise your hand. We would love to know. Again, this is the type of content that we're trying to put together for you. So pop that in the chat. That'd be great. Let's see what else we have here. I love the intentionality between high touch automations and low touch when it comes to customer communications and their preferences. Will you talk a bit about how you would potentially work that in JobNimbus? I'd imagine there'd be some work involved in getting set up on different workflows, etc.
Well, you can actually use the same workflows for either, and then you can have a custom field that's like, this customer wants high touch or low touch, yes, no. You just check the box on the ones you want low touch on, because it's probably the norm that most customers want high touch. When we did the homeowner surveys, they all want lots of communication. So for those few one-offs, say 20% that want low touch communication, check the box on it. And then in all of your automations, you can actually just include that as a flag. Don't fire this automation if it's low touch. Do fire this one, and you can make a decision on those. But you could use the same exact automations for both.
Right.
And then you just have that be a modifier flag on it.
Like say the homeowner had like a roof and they were getting siding and something else done, and you didn't want all the updates, but all the things.
Correct.
But just wanted the key milestones.
That's how we did English and Spanish.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Same difference.
Oh, you
yeah.
built out workflows for, okay.
But you don't have to make two separate automations, two separate workflows. You can actually have it go in the same one. And then it's smart enough to know, oh, this flag's set, so I'm not going to send this automation. Oh, it's not set, then I am going to send it.
Here is an interesting question. How are you communicating the steel/aluminum/reciprocal tariffs to customers as how it is / will it increase roofing costs? I think we can chat about that, but also if any of you are handling this, it'd be really interesting to hear what you're doing in the chat, because I'm sure that's something you're navigating? What do you guys think? It's a big one.
Yeah, you got to reset.
Okay, let me.
Because that was complicated.
How are you communicating the tariffs, specifically steel,
tariffs.
aluminum, to customers as how it will increase roofing costs?
I think it's too early to tell.
Yeah, I mean,
this
weekend.
I think it would be good to communicate it use anything you can to your advantage if you're selling right now. But I always say that. So if that's a fear point in people's mind, hey, you might want to get your order in now so that you avoid that, right?
You could use it as a sales tactic.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
You might be able to get some quick, people that are on the fence right now. You may want to reach out to them if you've got some old customers that have been thinking about it. Be like, hey, there's this potentially happening. We don't know how it's going to affect our business. It could potentially affect it. You might want to go ahead and pull the trigger on this now. But in the future, you got to roll with the punches, I think.
I wish I could ask more questions because I'd love to know, what if you don't communicate it? What happens? I keep thinking won't all your competitors have the same problem? So why even get into it? Unless you're trying to make a political point to the customer, then that's fine too.
And I think too, one of the things that we love about the sales experience is that you have this opportunity to import custom designs and custom pages. And so you can have a what to expect of your whole process. And perhaps if it does become something that's relevant, you can include it in the what to expect or context. We love this. I don't know. This is something I don't think is super widely known, but we have a library of free Canva templates for all of JobNimbus customers. Mm-hmm. And they have what to expect. They have testimonials about us, and you can take them fully free and customize them so that your quotes can outline some of those FAQs ahead of your homeowners having to ask you those questions. So
I would manage that by exception. I would just say, agree. Here's our price. Here's what's going on. If a customer's like, well, hold on, why is this so much? And they know that much about materials. And then you could get into a talking point around well, look, there's been some tariffs. There's a trade war going on. Yeah. And we can only do what we can do right now. This is just the real cost.
Yes,
we're not doing anything to mark it up and, take it or leave it. Most people will understand that system.
We've got a few people in here saying we'd love for someone to get in touch about building automations with high and low contact, which is awesome. Let's just look here. I'm just going through. Oh, link for Canva templates. We will. I've got. This is what happens after all of this. I'll take all of this info and I will send you the link for that. Is there anything that you are most excited about in terms of industry trends going into 2025? I realize we're in 2025, but for the rest of 2025.
I think we're excited for the season to start.
The season to start?
One thing that's sort of unsaid in this industry is everybody's on the front lines trying to fix the climate problems that we're having. There's all kinds of weather events, and it's only been getting worse for the last 10 years. We've been tracking storm patterns. And so I guess on one level, it's good for the industry because stuff's getting wrecked by storms more and more in the country and more random places. We had a freak hailstorm here in Utah we've never had before that caused massive damage. That's never happened, So we're seeing unprecedented things happen. But then also other areas aren't getting any storms that normally would. So everything's shifting and changing. That probably bodes well long-term for roofing because it's sort of built-in demand.
It's a double-edged sword.
We're on the front lines of trying to just fix people's houses as this stuff's happening. I love that, about it. And I think that's a really good sign for the future health of roofing industry is that even though it's bad for maybe humanity.
It's a good sign in the short term, but it's also a troubling sign for who actually pays for these roofs.
Well, don't you think the trend is that just homeowners will have to find ways to pay for roofs? That's why we're working on homeowner financing products and things. Even if the insurance companies end up stop paying for this stuff, it still has to get done. That's the beauty of this. It's a must do. But get your roof fixed.
And I think you said recently too that the roofing industry is not going away.
No,
it can't.
It's not going to go away, but you have to pivot.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of people, if you want to talk industry changes, I think if you're not watching what insurance companies are doing closely, you need to, because it's going to change the way you do business. You're either going to have to align with them and do an MRP or DRP program and get into those deals, which presents itself with
kind of sucks, but
it also, if you structure it right, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
And then you also have to go into, like you said, like if they decide to stop insuring roofs, which I don't know if they can do that in its current state, but they could change it. Like these are very powerful lobbyists that can make changes on a very big level if they wanted to, if it was hurting them bad enough. And then, so you got to keep that as on your SWOT analysis, that this is a potential change that's going to come down the pipe, that insurance companies are going to tighten up. They're going to change how they do business. And it could affect your business model in its current state. And so if you're not prepared for that, you don't want to get caught, not prepared and just be flat-footed when those changes do come.
Taking it a little bit differently, here's a kind of, it's a little bit random, but I like it. Would you be able to have an API that ties into the do not call list? This report comes out monthly from the Department of Agriculture. I don't know the answer to that question.
We could totally do that. We haven't put it on the roadmap yet, but let's get that on the product list.
Would a do not call list, though, doesn't that apply to marketing, not necessarily a customer that you're engaging with?
Yes, there is some nuance, but generally speaking, it's like cold outreach, do not call. But if you're already actively working with a customer, that's a different category than do not call.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess if you're using text messaging for cold marketing, then it would really apply to you.
Which some customers are. So that may be where that question is coming from.
If
cold emails as
there are any other questions, drop them in. We just have a couple more minutes here. It's just really fun to read through the chat and see what you guys are doing, the questions you have, the things that you're looking to level up this year. And as I said, like, we're here for you. We've designed a product with your business in mind so you can serve your customer better. And so the more we can learn from you about how you're doing business, the more we can be informed about how we can help you. Yeah, I love it. I'm trying to just make sure I didn't miss anything here.
One of the industry trends that I think is positive is the number of companies in our space that are serving roofers that are getting funding, outside funding. A lot more investors coming into the market, and many investors buying roofing companies and rolling them up. Now, you might think everybody's doing that, but it's less than 15% of the market that's actually been rolled up. So still, by far, 85% of people decided not to get rolled up, or they couldn't be, So most people are running their own business on their own right now. But having people putting money in the industry will make the tools better. Even the technology is better. It's really good for the industry long term, because I feel like roofing's been the forgotten man. I mean, it was us and a couple other people in this market that actually cared first about, like, hey, why do roofers have like the worst technology to work with? This is ridiculous in 2013 when we started. And we really pushed hard to try to be one of the people that actually solves this problem. And I think it's cool that other people are wanting to, because it only make everything better and more affordable over time too.
Yes. There's a bunch of questions in here that are very specific about the product itself, and I am going to export this, and we will make sure that your questions get answered in different ways, because we can't address all of them here today. Yes, there will be a recording. We will send it out to all of you afterwards. You can go through it again. This is just one last reminder as we wrap up. Firstly, thank you all for being here. This is really fun, and thank you all for joining us. If you have not downloaded the report and you're like, what the heck are they talking about? There is a link at the bottom of the chat. Go click that, download the report. We love to hear from you. Finish out these polls before you leave. And yeah, if you have any other questions, you can drop them and we'll find a way to get in touch with you. But thank you so much, you guys. This is amazing. Enjoy your week, enjoy your year, and we're really excited to see how you level up and then where you stand after our 2026 report next year. Thanks all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.